Hello, my name is David Penner, and this is my EDL 851 case study. A good teacher turns bad. Stress at home causes problems at school. In this case study, Miss Horton is a experienced teacher at Clearwater Elementary School uh, and has been experiencing some personal problems in her life. Her husband has left her, and this stress at home has now, or these changes at home have now caused uh, problems in her attitude towards school and her students. Uh, First, in this case study, what we need to do is identify the problem and analyze the possible solutions. So, in order to do that, we must first address what we know. What we know about our school is that it's a good rural elementary school, which the students have good attendance. The school itself has above average test scores and usually few behavioral problems, and that the community is very pleased with this school. We know that the principal is Miss Wilson. She's in her third year as principal, and her after being a teacher for 13 years. And then we know that Miss Horton is a seasoned teacher. She is a former teacher of the year, and is now experiencing some tough times as her husband has left her, and she is now left raising her teenage sons. Uh, all of this stress has now led to concerning work behavior. What we still need to know from this case study is in the heated discussions and disagreements with others, she's taken place, or which have taken place, both at staff meetings and in our parent meeting with Mr. Stafford. We need to know what actually is the cause of these heated discussions. Uh, we also need to know with our new reading program that is being implemented by Mrs. Wilson at this school, we need to know, have the teachers had proper training, or are they kind of being left uh, to learn on their own with this new program? We also need to address the lack of evidence of misconduct in evaluations. Has there been any documentation on the incidents that are being said to have happened in Miss Horton's classroom? And if so, where are they? If not, how can we get documentation on these incidences? And then finally, what complaints are being made up the chain of command about Miss Horton? In this case study, there are several problems. The biggest one is that Miss Horton, who was once a great teacher, is now experiencing a time of personal difficulties and curriculum changes. This added stress to her life is now affecting her overall effectiveness as a teacher. We also know that parents of the students that are in Miss Horton's classroom are feeling that their students are mistreated and they want change. They want their students out of her classroom. Mr. Stafford was the perfect example of that. We also know that Miss Horton has had a period of poor communication between herself and the parents, as she has been reluctant to contact parents and set up conferences to address these issues. So a plan of action must be taken. My personal opinion is to start at step one, which is to schedule a conference immediately following our parent conference with Mr. Stafford in order to address Miss Horton's outburst in this parent meeting. We need to discuss her behavior and allow for her to understand that that behavior is not professionally appropriate and will not be tolerated at our school. She also needs to know that this behavior needs to be documented and filed away so that it is now on her record as being present. Step two then would be to start documenting any further parental complaints about Miss Horton and her behavior towards the students. We need to make sure that we have addressed any concerns that may arise in the future. And then step three, we need to schedule a meeting with the board in order to determine what complaints already have been made by those four other parents and help identify and address the issues that may be present in the classroom, especially if they are of great importance. Step four would then to reschedule a meeting with Mr. Stafford. In this meeting, I would like to have not only myself, Miss Horton, but also my assistant principals and then maybe even a school counselor in there as well in order to help buffer the whole situation. Uh, in this meeting, I'd like to give Miss Horton a chance to apologize to Mr. Stafford for her outburst, and then also for us to collectively come together in order to address the actual behavior in the classroom. Step 5 would then be to create a improvement plan for Miss Horton in order to address the concerns by the parents. In this improvement plan, I'd like to offer additional support for Miss Horton as it is a trying time in her life. We have 3 aides at the school, so I would give her one of the aides in order to help with the classroom and the class work that may be piling up. I would also offer additional training on the new reading program in order to get Miss Horton on board with the new program itself. As she is one of our seasoned teachers in the school, it's important to get her caught up with any training that she may have missed during the summertime in her absence then. And then I'd also like to offer her support from the counselors as a resource in order to address any personal issues and help resolve those conflicts in her life, as this is once again a tough time for her, not only because her husband left, but now that she's stuck raising her teenage sons as well. And we all know how teenage sons can be. And then finally, I'd like to schedule observations and walkthroughs with Miss Horton in order to ensure that there is change in behavior and in the instruction that is geared towards our students in her classroom. For resolution of this whole problem, I think we need to focus on what is best for the students. What is best for the students is having a very experienced teacher like Miss Horton at her very best. And what that will do is it will continue to lead towards student success. Right now, it's clear that she needs both professional and emotional support during this tough time in her life. I also think that what's best for students is that they feel safe when they come to school, and that they can participate in a positive learning environment as well. And then with this resolution, we need to develop a plan in order to better communicate with the parents and the students in order to maintain or maybe even repair relationships between Miss Horton and the parents to her students. While debriefing this case, I was first thinking of a great concern for the teacher and her well-being. This is a tough time in anybody's life to go through a divorce and can lead to great depression. And so what I want is for my excellent teachers to be excellent. And so I need to provide her with the support that she may need, not only from myself as a principal, but also from the peers and other teachers in the school as well. Excellent teachers bring about student success, and Miss Horton is an important part to that process. What I was feeling in this case was, first off, sympathy towards the students. If they've gone through similar outbursts or experienced similar outbursts to the one she had with our parent meeting, then I definitely could see how learning is a concern in her classroom. I'm also concerned with Miss Horton's reluctancy towards the new reading program. Usually this is a program that is instilled in order to benefit all students. However, she, being one of our more experienced teachers, is now reluctant towards that. What is the cause of this reluctancy? What I was valuing in this case is positive and frequent teacher-to-parent feedback and communication. I think that is important not only for building relationships with our parents, but also with communicating about these new programs that are being instilled in our schools. I also value support for our teachers. I think it's important that Miss Horton knows that she is supported by her staff and by her principals, and that we must show this support as well. And then we also need to value a safe learning environment for all of our students, as that should be our number one concern as far as students go. And then I also value the use of chain of command. And I do not think that was used in this case. With having parents directly report to the board, they missed over the part where they're supposed to communicate with me, or in this case, Miss Wilson as the principal. I do think that there are still unresolved issues in this case. The first would be, how long will Miss Horton's personal problems last? Is this something that's going to resolve itself over the next few months, or is this going to last for years to come? Will Miss Horton's behavior change, and will the plan of action that we put in place help change this behavior? Is the way parents view Miss Horton beyond repair, or can that image be repaired through some quality steps? And then finally, how is the board going to handle the parental complaints that were brought towards them, towards Miss Horton? Upon reflection, we must focus on three key components. The first one is how to promote the academic success of every student by enhancing instructional capacity. I think I addressed this by providing Miss Horton with an aid to help with the classroom tasks. I also think that providing additional training on the new reading program for Miss Horton in order to address any missing or additional professional development that she may need in order to get her on board is important with that. And then also collecting data through observation and walkthroughs in order to ensure that there's change in Miss Horton's behavior and that the students are in fact safe in her classroom. The second component is, how do we promote the personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity? I think this first starts with offering support through the counselors at our school, and in doing so, we can help address those personal issues that Miss Horton is going through. I think it's also important to collect data through observations and walkthroughs. I think you can never do enough of that. And then encourage the mending of relationships between both parents and students with Miss Horton in order to help repair those relationships. And then the third component is how do we enhance instructional capacity? The first step I took in doing this was to collect data from both parents, students, and even the classroom observations in order to ensure that improvements have been made with Miss Horton and her behavior. I think it's important and then also that I provide Miss Horton with the assistance that she may need through the aid in hopes of reducing stress and schoolwork that would be taken home, as it is important for her at this time to focus on her home life when she is at home. And then also by creating a system of support, whether that's the aid that I give her in the classroom or whether that's the ability for the counselors to actually work with Miss Horton through this tough time. I think it's important for her to know that we have her back and that she is supported. It has been my privilege to learn this semester in EDL 851, which is over the supervision and evaluation of school personnel. I think I've learned a lot from my classmates and from my instructor as well. Thank you again.